side of the coin of libertarianism is private property rights. Because there's a hat sitting there on that desk. It says Ludwig von Mises Institute, a black hat. Would you please wave that around? There it is. We're going to wave this hat around. Okay, great. Now suppose I would have grabbed that hat. Have I invaded him? Have I stole money from him? Or have I stolen the hat from him? It all depends upon private property rights. If he took it from me yesterday and now I'm just repossessing it, well then I'm not engaging in theft against him. Rather, I'm upholding property rights. On the other hand, as is the case, the first time I saw that hat was 1 minute ago, so I would be the thief if I took the hat. So how do you establish private property rights? Private property rights, says John Locke and Murray Rothbard and Hans Hoppe and other people like that who are the key practitioners or theoreticians of private property. The way you determine that is homesteading. I mix my labor with some land, I grow a crop, I now own that crop. You maybe domesticate a cow, and you get milk, and you own that milk. And other legitimate ways of getting private property, what Robert Nozick calls as legitimate title transfers, would be barter, trade the milk for the corn, or gambling. They could have a bet on something, or inheritance or gifts or anything like that. So I presume that the way that hat came about was somebody built the hat out of yarn and a machine, and this gentleman bought it with money that he honestly owned and earned. So therefore he's the rightful owner of the hat, and if I take it away from him, I'm the bad guy, he is the victim, I'm the perpetrator of the crime. So those are the two sides of the libertarian coin. Now most people would say, yeah, I mean, that's not news. That's sort of a definition of civilization, or the opposite of barbarism. I mean, who marches around saying, let's kill, let's murder, let's rape, let's steal? Nobody. I mean, you'd be embarrassed if you did that, because it's uncivilized. It's barbaric to grab people's hats or to have the slightest touch is an assault and battery, an uninvited touch. Now, if somebody's falling, you grab them, they didn't give you permission, but there's sort of an implicit permission. I was on my way here, and this young lady fell on a step, and I started to grab her. I missed, and she didn't fall. But if I would have grabbed her, it would have been very nasty of her to say, aha, assault and battery, and call the cops on me, because I was just trying to save her from a fall. So there are sort of cases like that where you can grab someone. Another one that Milton Friedman uses to undermine this, he's a critic of it. He says, well, suppose you see somebody at the Washington Bridge and they're ready to jump. And he says that the libertarian notion of non-aggression is no good because any civilized, decent person is going to grab him, right? Especially a young kid. You're going to grab him. I'm going to grab him. I'm not going to let anyone jump off the bridge if I can help it. But I will have, if I did that, I would be guilty of kidnapping. And I should pay the price for it. And I think that the proper thing to do is to, maybe talk to him, get him a cup of coffee, whatever, and then, if he's in his right mind, if he's not mentally handicapped or something, and say, okay, look, I kidnapped you. I'm willing to pay the price. I kidnapped you for a day or an hour or whatever it is. Sue me. So in other words, what I'm saying is that Milton Friedman's criticism of the non-aggression principle is overturned by this analysis. What he's saying is, well, since any decent person would have grabbed them, therefore the libertarian non-aggression axiom is wrong. Because a decent person would have violated it. And I'm saying, well, if you violate it, you have to pay a penalty. So in a sense, libertarianism is really a theory of criminality and crime and punishment. And it says if you grab someone against their will, even with the best of intentions, you're not like a slave master or a kidnapper. You're not demanding money from his family to give him back, and you're doing it out of good motives. I even go so far, and this is a very radical version of libertarianism, as to contemplate, could a libertarian take a job as a concentration camp guard in the Nazi concentration camp? My mind is weird. I sort of work in weird directions, and I try to see, can a case be made for that? And the example I come up with is, suppose that every concentration camp guard has to kill 100 people a day. That's, that's the quota. And what you do, you're the Libertarian concentration camp guard, you go in there and you only kill 90 people a day. You have to kill somebody, otherwise they're going to boot you out of the concentration camp. They're going to say, you've got to love your work a little better than that. So you kill 90 people and you save 10, and the reason you're doing it is to save 10 people. And at the end of the week, you've saved 70 people and you've killed, I don't know, whatever the 600, thanks. We're in the math building, we have to know math. And now the Libertarian Nuremberg trials come in. The concentration camp ends, and we are adopting a God's eye view, so we know the facts. There's no dispute as to the facts. And you are a murderer of 630 people, and you have to come before the Libertarian Nuremberg trial justice. And what you say in your defense is, well, I saved 70 people, and the reason I did it, these 70 people would have died. And I won't go too deeply into libertarian punishment theory, but the point is that if any one of the heirs of the 630 victims says, I want this guy put to death, or I want the punishment meted out to murderers to be meted out to this guy, well, then you have to do it, but you're a hero. First, what we do is we have a ticker tape parade in your honor, and then we give you the highest libertarian medal because you saved 70 lives that would have died. We stipulate they would have died anyway. Now, I admit this is sort of a flight of fancy of mine. It's a little weird, libertarian concentration camp guard. It's almost like a contradiction. But I think a case can be made that you could probably convince all 630 heirs of the people who were killed and say, look, I'm not like those guys. Those guys were just killing people, innocent people, blacks, Jews, gypsies, gays, whatever, because they weren't Aryans. I'm not like that at all. I'm a libertarian. I was trying to save lives. And I did save lives. But you would have to pay the penalty for it because you did violate the non-aggression axiom. So I think the non-aggression axiom is a very important axiom, and private property rights are very important, and they're impervious to the criticisms of people like Milton Friedman who try to denigrate. Okay, maybe that's enough on libertarianism, sort of advanced libertarianism. This example is not one that you ordinarily think of. Let me talk a little bit about Austrian economics, because as I say, my man Ron Paul, his two guiding lights are Austrian economics and libertarianism. Now, the other day, also at Columbia, yesterday, I gave a long talk about what Austrian economics is, and I'm not going to go over that. I think there are several people in the audience who were here then, so I'm not going to go over that at all. Or rather, I'm going to take one of the aspects of it that is very relevant to our present-day difficulties, namely Keynesian economics, the Fed, the business cycle, the problem that we have with the recession or depression that we now have, unemployment, inflation coming, the QE. Well, we had QE1 and QE2. Now we have QEN, N is in Nathan, or N is in 1 through. Again, getting back to the math, you have these equations, 1 dot 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 n, infinity. I mean, we're going to have 40 billion a month of extra money floating around in our economy. So let me just talk a little bit about the Austrian economics in contrast with neoclassical economics.